Welcome, G.I. Joe fans, to a very special 9th anniversary edition of Cobra Island, where we are looking at two different comic books. The tribute issue of issue 21 in the original Marvel line, the silent issue, and the conclusion of that issue, because it did leave a lot of unanswered questions. So it's 21B, Silence Between Borders, which picks up where the silent interlude leaves off. And we're going to start with issue 21, the silent interlude, of course, where we see the 1984 original cover art, as well as the 2008 tribute issue, which is what we're looking at. And then you got Storm Shadow with a wrapped up prisoner. You see Scarlet with a band-aid on her face, and you see the Red Ninjas. And it says here, what happened so far? The G.I. Joe team goes to Sierra Gordo to investigate what Cobra is doing with missile guidance chips. The team is captured and Snake Eyes is kept for questioning, but he uses his ninja skills to appear dead. The team escapes and Snake Eyes races to join the team, but he is caught up in a struggle with Quinn as the G.I. Joe team watches. Quinn pushes Snake Eyes and Dr. Venom into a bunker seconds before the Baroness evaporates the island. The horrified team believes that Snake Eyes is really gone, but Snake Eyes and his enemies are alive in the bunker that has fallen underwater. After more adventures to escape the clutches of Cobra, Snake Eyes sends a message to the team that he is still alive. And now Snake Eyes rescues Scarlet, who has been captured by Storm Shadow. And then we start with a good look at the first page, which is called Silent Interlude, which has got the Cobra Silent Castle, and Storm Shadow is flying in on the Cobra Claw with a prisoner, which we all know is Scarlet. You know, and he's got the Larry Hama's, the story and breakdowns. Steve Leahola, finishes. George Rousos is coloring. Daniel O'Neill is editor. And Jim Shooter is editor-in-chief. And then we flip over to the next page, which is where we see Storm Shadow flying into the Silent Castle. It flies right into Cobra Commander's throne room, where he's addressing his troops. And Storm Shadow lands the glider, offers up X for his sword, takes his sword out of the scabbard, and he comes over, slices open the rabbit machine to find out the prisoner is Scarlet. And Cobra Commander's like, what? So Storm Shadow, bows and offers up Scarlet, and the Cobra troopers take her to the dungeon. And you see a Cobra ship flying into the Silent Castle's airspace. And then out of this jet, we find out it's a G.I. Joe jet, and coming out the cargo bay is Snake Eyes as he falls towards the Cobra Castle. Meanwhile, or as the SpongeBob cartoon would do, as Snake Eyes was falling into the castle, Scarlet is right there with Storm Shadow, and she's like, yeah, jabroni, you can't beat me. And Snake Eyes is like, yeah, whatever. So Scarlet bites Storm Shadow, so he goes to cut her and decides not to, and then flies up the little hole up into the castle, where we are taken to a control room in the castle where Destro is sitting, and he's looking up something, and stating there's an intruder, and it says altitude of intruder aircraft, high wind velocity, lack of landing zones, possibility of airborne insertion, 0.00018. And Dexter's like, And Snake Eyes is parachuting onto the head of the Cobra, onto the Cobra head on top of the temple, lands successfully, starts climbing down. Meanwhile, Scarlet is chained to her block and gives a bobby pin. Picks the lock. And Snake Eyes is still trying to get in, takes out a Cobra Trooper. And so it is successful that she escapes. So there's a couple other G.I. Joe members there, Rock and Roll, and it looks like Steeler. Face off with Storm Shadow and a couple of Cobra Troopers. And come to find out this is only a chessboard. And Quinn and Dr. Venom, Baroness, and Cobra Troopers all laying on the ground. And it's come to find out Destro's playing chess. G.I. Joe versus Cobra chess. Hey, Hasbro, y'all should have made that in the 80s. All of us kids would have loved the G.I. Joe chessboard. Maybe we could have got into chess. And then we see Storm Shadow entering this latch, which leads to a basement room, and gets caught up by a chain. And come to find out, it's Scarlet as she pulls him into that room, and she climbs out of it. And of course, Storm Shadow tries to climb out with her and try to catch her, but she gets away. Snake Eyes comes in with the fallen Cobra Trooper. Some more come out. Snake Eyes takes them out. Storm Shadow comes out, and there's a brawl between the two going on. And then we go to our first advertisement in this comic, which says Cobra is back, with Cobra Commander leading some Cobra Troopers, announcing the 25th anniversary line. And we go back into the story where Snake Eyes is taking out some more Cobra Troopers. It's almost taken out by one. And Destro sees the Cobra Trooper falling off the side of the castle, so he sprays some more Cobra Troopers to try to catch the intruder, which is Snake Eyes. Cobra Troopers laying on the side. Snake Eyes is disguising himself as a Cobra Trooper as they're looking for him. And Storm Shadow and the Red Ninjas playing their attack to get Snake Eyes and to get Scarlet back. But they're actually looking to get Scarlet back. They're really looking for Snake Eyes at the moment. And then they bring the claw to... They're bringing the claw, I guess, to Storm Shadow. But Scarlet takes out the Cobra Troopers and then hijacks the Cobra Claw. And Snake Eyes was ready to go down the little room to get Scarlet's down there, where he's ambushed by a Red Ninja, and he takes the Red Ninja out. I kind of like these silent issues because they really show, you don't really need dialogue to know what's going on. You know, and he takes out another Red Ninja with a grenade. And then he comes face to face to another Red Ninja. Takes him out, then comes across to a Red Ninja in Storm Shadow. So he takes out the Red Ninja. And then starts fighting Storm Shadow as Scarlet makes an escape. And she ends up coming back for Snake Eyes. So Snake Eyes goes to save Scarlet or rescue Scarlet, but Scarlet winds up rescues Snake Eyes. Go figure. So Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow still battle, and then Snake Eyes gets on board the claw on the back as Scarlet takes off. And they fly away to safety, and that's when we find the Arashi Kage symbol on both Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. What could this mean, G.I. Joe fans? Then we get another advertisement for G.I. Joe and the toys, where we go back in 1982. And then Snake Eyes today. And celebrating 25 years of a real American hero. And the G.I. Joe The Best is back. And that ends issue 21 with a advertisement of Flint saying, "I want you for the G.I. Joe Collectors Club." And so that ends issue 21. So now let's go ahead and look at 21B. The silence between borders. So, man, we are really getting hot and heavy in this now, ain't we, G.I. Joe fans? And as we got on the cover, as you can see, Snake Eyes versus Storm Shadow. And then we got another dossier in the front. We're saying what's happened so far, and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow were once the closest of friends, sword brothers of the same ninja clan, but they grew apart, and after a shocking murder of Storm Shadow's uncle, found themselves the bitterest of enemies. The two ninja masters battle head to head for the first time in the legendary G.I. Joe Comic 21 Silent Interlude, which we just looked at. In this groundbreaking issue, the story unfolds without dialogue and narration of any kind. Storm Shadow has delivered a hostage to Destro's castle, Scarlet. Snake Eyes infiltrates the compound for a rescue mission and takes on Storm Shadow and his team of red ninjas before escaping with Scarlet in the Cobra jet glider. And now, silence between borders, all the action you didn't see the first time. So let's really get into this. And then, of course, you got the Destro looking at monitors. You got Snake Eye, or the red ninjas coming out of a tube, and Storm Shadow with his sword. And then you got that G.I. Joe jet with Snake Eyes on it. And he's sitting there with Wild Bill. And here's some more Snake Eyes going to the cargo bay. And here you see Cobra Commander discussing with somebody in the Cobra Temple. Destro in the computer room looking at monitors. Destro still looking at monitors, watching Storm Shadow and Scarlet. And then Destro getting the alert that there's an intruder in Cobra airspace. And then some Cobra troopers goggling up. And Destro's looking like, I wonder if I could get some cable soup and share with the Baroness. But hey, you never know. And then you got Snake Eyes jumping off the back of the plane, going in for landing. Then you got a Star Wars advertisement. The fans have spoken. And then we got Storm Shadow donning the red cloak, knocking over Destro's chessboard, and basically saying, like, what are you going to do about this, Destro? Play chess? And then we go to Snake Eyes infiltrating the castle, Scarlet's escape, Storm Shadow trying to figure this out and try to find out what's going on with Scarlet, to try to locate Scarlet. Scarlet escaping, Storm Shadow coming at the little thing and running off, running right past her, and Scarlet takes off the other way. And, of course, once they could get the page switched. Then we go to Snake Eyes looking for Scarlet through the temple, and here comes the claw glider. This Scarlet eventually captures. Destro's coming through, see the red ninjas going down the tunnel. And, they're still bringing that claw. And, Snake Eyes kicking some Cobra Troopers' butts. And running up down the hallway. Scarlet flying the glider, flying past some Cobra Troopers and Destro, taking them out. And as we see Snake Eyes taking out some red ninjas, get ready to fight Storm Shadow. Snake Eyes taking out all the Cobra ninjas, or red ninjas. And then we got the Snake Eyes then, Snake Eyes now. And then we've got Storm Shadow and trying to take on Snake Eyes and see their battle. Scarlet comes in on the glider. Destro and the troopers come up. And still seeing Storm Shadow with Snake Eyes going at it. And Scarlet and Snake Eyes take off with Storm Shadow's sword in the rock formation. And As you can still see Scarlet getting away, and Scarlet and Snake Eyes getting away, and Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow's like, what the heck? That's where we see their two identical tattoos. Which it brings to the end of where we're at the end of 21. And then we got a PSA on the back of a comic, and now you know PSA. Huh, go figure. So that does it here for this week. I will rank these as two top comic books. Of course, the Silent Interlude. This one here was awesome. And this one just filling the gaps of what goes on. And this one in between the panels. But it was a good comic. I enjoyed both of them. And the figures that came with them are awesome versions of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, which are all top tier figures. But I kind of like them both, so I mean, hey, it works. So that'll do it all for this one, and I will see you in the next video later this afternoon or later today, which will be on a Decepticon. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace.